friends, and welcome to Creation Station. We have so much to learn today. We have our April memory verse, an awesome story, and great songs. Let's learn together.
Hi friends! How are you? I am here to help you learn the memory verse. I'm going to say it first, and you repeat after me, okay? Here we go. Fear of the Lord is the foundation of true wisdom. All who obey His commandments will grow in wisdom. Praise Him forever. Psalm 111:10. Good job! That's your April memory verse.
Welcome to my kingdom of Creation Station. I am Queen Miss Polly, and today we are going to learn about two different kings. One king didn't look like a king at all, but God chose him. Remember last week we learned that God used Joshua and his people to take over Jericho. Do you remember when they made the loud noise with the trumpets and the walls of Jericho came down? Do you remember that? Well, now in today's story, God's people are in the promised land because remember, if God promises something, He always does it. So they're in the promised land now, but they're not happy because they want a king. They have God as their king forever. But guess what? That's not enough for them. They want a human, a person king. So we're going to learn about who God gave them as king. Are you ready? Let's turn on our listening ears way up. Take a deep breath. Focus. And after the story, I'm going to come back with some questions, okay?
The teeny weeny true king. God's people had a new land. Now they wanted a king. But God is your king, Samuel told them. He is the one who looks after you best. But we want a real king, they said, one we can see. God knew that a king might not be kind to his people or look after them as well as he would. But God's people didn't care. They wanted a king, and they wanted him now. So God gave them a king. He was called Saul, and he seemed like a good king at first, but he became proud and stopped listening to God. He didn't obey God or love God with his whole heart. Saul can't help me with my plan, God said. I need a king who loves me and will teach my people to love me. I need a true king. God had just the one in mind. Go to Bethlehem, God told Samuel. You'll find the new king there. Samuel's job was to listen to God and tell people what God said. So Samuel went to the little town of Bethlehem. God told Samuel to go to Jesse's house. God was going to choose one of Jesse's sons to be the new king. Jesse had 7 strong sons. Now, in those days, if you were going to be the king, you didn't have to be the richest or the cleverest, although that was always nice. You had to look like a king, which meant you had to be the tallest and the strongest, so you could carry the longest swords and biggest armor and defeat everyone. And it didn't hurt to be handsome either. Samuel asked Jesse to bring him each son in turn. So Jesse brought the oldest, tallest, strongest son. Oh, well, this must be the new king, Samuel thought. He looks like a king. But God didn't choose him. You're thinking about what he looks like on the outside, God told Samuel. But I'm looking at his heart, what he's like on the inside. So Jesse showed Samuel his next oldest, tallest, strongest son. But God didn't choose him either. In fact, God didn't choose any of the 7 sons. Samuel said, "Is that all?" Jesse laughed. "Oh, well, there's the youngest one, but he's just the weakling of the family. He's only teeny." "Bring him," said Samuel. Jesse's youngest son came running up, and God spoke quietly to Samuel. "This is the one." His name was David. "He has a heart like mine," God said. "It is full of love. He will help me with my secret rescue plan. And one of his children's children's children will be the king. And that king will rule the world forever." Samuel anointed David's head with oil, which was a special way to show that you are God's chosen king. "You will be the new king one day," Samuel told him. And sure enough, when he grew up, David became king. God chose David to be king because God was getting his people ready for an even greater king who was coming. Once again, God would say, "Go to Bethlehem. You'll find the new king there." And there, one starry night in Bethlehem, in the town of David, 3 wise men would find him.
Okay, guys, that was a great story, wasn't it? So in our story today, we learned about 2 kings. The first king looked like a king, he spoke like a king, and he dressed like a king, and all the people thought, oh, he's going to be a great king. Do you remember his name? That's right, his name was Saul, but he did not obey God. So God chose another king, a king that did not look like a king at all. As a matter of fact, he was a child. But even though he didn't look like a king, or spoke like a king, or dressed like a king, his heart was pure, and that's where God was looking. He loved God with all his heart. Isn't that amazing? So even though he didn't look like a king to people, he was the best king because he loved and obeyed God. And we know that our King forever, Jesus, when he came to earth, he didn't look like a king, did he? He was born in a manger. He wasn't rich and with the fancy clothes. No, but his heart, that's where God looks, in our hearts. So David was the king that loved God. And we're going to learn more about David in the next few weeks. Are you ready to learn more about David? David was a great man and he loved God. So right now, we're going to show God our love for him by singing and dancing. Are you ready for our worship time? I always have such a great time with you, and now we're gonna have a great time singing together. Let's all stand up and we're going to sing and dance and worship our God.
You guys stomp your feet like that? And let's clap together. That's it. Keep it going. Let's sing this little light of mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All right, keep clapping now. Sounds good? Everywhere I go.
Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes,
Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Oh, that sounds so good. That's called clapping on the backbeat. All right, sing this real quiet with me now.
Even when I'm afraid, I'm gonna let it shine. Even when I'm afraid, I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, even when
I'm
I'm
afraid, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop. Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, go. Stop and listen to what God says. Go and do what He tells you to do. Stop and listen to what God says. Go and do what He tells you to do. Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop. Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, go. Stop and listen to what God says. Go and do what He tells you to do. Stop and listen to what God says. Go and do what He tells you to do. Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop. Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, go. We're gonna stop, be still and know He is God. We're gonna go, let our life always show His love. Yeah. Woo! Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop. Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, go. Stop.
I had a great time learning with you today. Come back next week. Bye!